is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 539. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
What's up, people? How's it going?
Carlos Romero.
Yo, yo, yo.
Brett Murdoch.
What up, everyone?
And Brian Majoma.
What up, what up?
All right, guys, you already know. That's right, Logic Wins Thursday, baby. We're here. We're back, you know?
Yep.
All right, a couple things. So Adam will not be joining us tonight. And Chris and Richard will join us later. That's the way it is. So
It's just the way it is.
we actually have a lot of topics to talk about tonight. You know, when I was done doing the show notes, I'm like, what the fuck is a busy week? You know, I actually had to cut some stuff out because it was too much to make it, you know? So let's get into it, man. The big story of the week, and I'm reading this from IGN. Microsoft confirms first-party next-generation Xbox consoles, announces deal with AMD, and promises full backwards compatibility with your existing Xbox library. Let's get into it. Microsoft has announced a partnership with AMD to power the next generation of Xbox, including its first-party future Xbox consoles. Not consoles. So this is what Microsoft had to say. Announcing that we're building the next generation of Xbox first-party devices and cloud, including our future Xbox consoles together with AMD. And then IGN goes on to say Microsoft failed to detail its plans, but it did promise next-level performance, cutting-edge graphics, breakthrough gameplay, and unmatched compatibility. That's what Microsoft said. It also said everything it's working on will be fully compatible with users' existing Xbox game library. So Adam will be very happy about that. Continuing here, we've established a strategic multi-year agreement with AMD to co-engineer silicon across a portfolio of devices, including our next-generation Xbox consoles. Together, we're delivering deeper visual quality, immersive gameplay, and AI-powered experiences, grounded in a platform designed for players, not tied to a single store or device, and fully compatible with your existing Xbox library. There was also a video with Sarah Bond, and she said that Microsoft was investing in their next-generation hardware lineup across console, handheld, PC, cloud, and accessories. So they're covering everything. It says the news confirms Microsoft's plan to release another home Xbox console as well as an Xbox handheld. No release date was mentioned, but Bond did say that they can't wait to show us next. Blah, blah, blah. So that was the big deal of the day. So basically, the way, if you saw Sarah Bond's video, I'm like, you're basically describing a gaming PC, you know, because it's going to have access to like all these clients and stuff, you know, but because I know some people were like, oh, you know, they're not going to release another system. Yeah, they are, you know, and it also confirms that, because remember last week, there was a report saying that like, oh, the Xbox, the proper Xbox handheld is being canceled. The one that was rumored for 2027 seems that's still on the table, you know, and at least reading from this, it sounds like Xbox is going to really go all in on its play anywhere strategy, you know? And it also seems like you're going to be able to play all your Xbox games. Because right now, we have, like, PC Game Pass and Xbox console Game Pass are not exactly the same. You know, they have different titles. So maybe they'll be unified in some way, which would be really good, you know? And I'm also going to assume you're going to be able to play your old 360 games, which you cannot do on PC at the moment, you know? So yeah, what do we think?
I got a prediction.
It sounds it sounds just like makes sense. You know, it's not like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's a ground shaking sort of thing. The whole idea is, and you know, just to unite everything, right? So, all right, is what it is.
Yeah,
It's the Unite box. I feel like this is going to be the next step. So we got the news earlier this month about the new Xbox ROG Ally X, which every Xbox fan hated. One of the things that they're doing is that they're creating a middleware software or layer upon Windows to make it work and make it less use less of those resources that Windows usually takes and make it less bullshit that Windows usually does, on especially on handhelds. I feel like the next evolution that they're going to try is get that interface and apply it to the next console. So the next console is going to have Windows on it, like full-fledged Windows, but it's going to boot off that layer that they're doing now. So I feel like that's why they're making such a big deal with the AMD thing, because I'm pretty sure that they're going to want as close to PC performance as they can with this next console, because they're going to charge over $1,000 for this new console. I have a feeling it's going to be interesting, man.
Well, they're going to have different prices. By the way, apologies to the guys in the chat. Apparently, it was, for my voice, it was picking up, like the headset microphones, and they said it sounded like shit. So now I'm using my Elgato. So apologies for that. They said it could hear me. It just sounded like shit, which is funny because it's supposed to be a gaming headset. Why the fuck is the audio shit? It should be good.
Oh, they're always bad. They're always bad.
It's like, what the fuck? But the thing is, like, I've noticed that with gaming headsets, if they have a boom mic, they sound fine. Obviously, Monster Hunter streams, right? I sound good. But if I were to use the mics on these, basura, so yeah, apologies for that. But yeah, Carlos, I agree. But my question to you is like, what will the pricing be on the systems? Remember, they said 2, or multiple.
Yeah.
It's like, will the handheld be more expensive? Will the console be more expensive? Like, which one do they want people to buy?
And that's a great point. I feel like the affordable / attainable version of whatever, because remember, the whole thing is Xbox is this, Xbox is that, Xbox is everywhere, play anywhere. The attainable version of what a console of an attainable console is going to be, it's going to be the handheld. That's going to be the $599 or $699 or whatever standard price we are at that point. It's going to be the console. So if you want to play Xbox and Xbox games at the most affordable price, it's going to be the handheld. And as far as the other ones, the quote unquote consoles, but in reality, they're really just PCs now. Like we've already gone all the way to the right. Before it was consoles were on the left, PCs were on the right, and they were kind of separate. They had their own architectures and their own software and everything. And after each generation, we've iterated to essentially just making everything a PC, where we use x86 architectures and a lot of PC hardware. But I feel like this is probably the place where it's like it's the event horizon. It's like we've crossed it. Now everything is a PC, and I feel like that's what these things are going to be. And the cheapest one, it's too early to speculate, but the cheapest one's going to be around $700 to $800.
Yeah. So Carlos, what metaphor would be good for this? That the pendulum has swung the other way, or the Overton window has completely shifted?
Oh, well, I feel like the pendulum, because we've been seeing where the direction was going.
Yeah.
It was just about time where the pendulum was going to reach to the other side.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. By the way, I want to read this other, because it was a pretty short report. Earlier this year, Microsoft was reported to be targeting a 2027 release window for both its next-gen Xbox and its Xbox handheld, which we reported on here on Throwdown. At the time, it was said that the next-gen Xbox would be more like a PC than any Xbox before it, and would support third-party storefronts such as Steam, the Epic Game Store, and GOG. Comments from Bond in today's video back that up, and this is what she had to say. This is all about building you a gaming platform that's always with you, so you can play the games you want across devices anywhere you want, delivering you an Xbox experience not locked to a single store or tied to one device. That's why we're working closely with the Windows team to ensure that Windows is the number one platform for gaming. So pretty much backing up everything you just said, Carlos.
Yeah.
You know why?
Why? What's up?
Because Linux is coming up on being a pretty big competitor to Windows, and I think they want to not lose their gaming throne.
It's possible. At least, like, when it comes to gaming, Linux is definitely, via Steam is doing its thing. I still think Linux overall won't be a viable, like, competitor for Windows because it's just really fucking complicated. But yeah, when it comes to gaming, Brett, I agree with that.
Well, yeah, but like Proton is like the big thing here. Like anything that's on Windows can be put on Linux, but nothing on Linux can be put on Windows. And I kind of feel like they're like, let's be honest, Windows is bloated, stupid, archaic, like every other word I could use that might also describe a fossil. I think if Microsoft is smart, they're going to realize that their suite of shitty office tools is not going to be the thing that carries them the next 2 decades. So they have to start to pivot and start to actually be, necessary in the computing industry. And I think that they're really trying to shore up Windows a little bit so that it can remain the standard for gaming. Basically, it's not anything huge. It's just one of those things where like, we should probably make sure we hold on to this mantle because slippery slope. And again, you're not going to be like, oh yeah, Microsoft Teams is really keeping us afloat.
Fuck that shit. No, I agree with everything you said about Windows. It's still at the core of it, it's still the same fucking Windows, man. Like when Windows 11 came out, it had this new shiny look and shit. But then when you start digging into it, like, oh yeah, I'm still seeing some of the old shit still in there. So it's like all that bloat from fucking decades and shit, And this is why, Windows 11 handhelds aren't as good, because of all that bullshit. And again, apparently the ROG Ally is dropping this year. Will have a modified version of Windows that's better for handhelds. So we'll see how that works. I still believe that console or handheld, whatever, is a test bed for what Microsoft wants to do on its own.
No. Exactly. No, that's exactly what they're going to be doing. They're trying to make a slimmed down gaming version of Windows that they can use for their next console. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a test bed for sure. So Brian, what are your thoughts on this, man?
I'm in the same boat as Brett here. Brett pretty much said everything that I was going to say. Again, I'm interested to see what exactly Sarah Bond meant by what she said, because I'm still trying to understand it. 'Cause again, there's lots of marketing terms and nonsense there, but usually there's some grains of truth. Yeah, I'm just eager to see what exactly that meant, especially the part about the different storefronts.
Yeah,
because then that is question of what type of storefronts. Because technically, PSN is a storefront, so is the App Store. It's a storefront. So the fact that it's not just Xbox does that mean that it's going to be like the Windows Xbox storefront as well? And then what does that mean? And how does that work? Again, does that mean that Steam is also part of that as well? If so, then how does that work in so many different cases and all the implications of that? So yeah, I just want to see what the hell she meant and how this all fits in.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, an important note to make out of all this is the AMD portion of of whatever this matrimony is. They didn't say just AMD. They in the press release they said, AMD Ryzen and AMD Radeon. So that means to me that it's not going to be an SoC like a system on chip.
Interesting.
Well, the graphics and CPU are going to be on the same thing, on the same die. I'm pretty sure that they're gonna. That's why I went towards this is going to be a more actual PC where you're going to have a GPU and a CPU separated on a bigger system.
Do you think they were lumping in, what they plan to use in the handheld and the console? Because I'm imagining it's going to be two different things.
It's going to be two different things, but I'm pretty sure that the software is what's going to be the unifying factor.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like you guys mentioned, there's going to be different storefronts across all of them. So Steam, Epic, all of those, including Xbox, is going to be available for these systems. The handheld is obviously it's an ROG Ally X, but with a Xbox branding and a new chip, and you can play all those games. But with this one, the next Xbox it's gonna be a PC, and they're gonna market it as you can do everything you can do with your Xbox, but you can stream now.
Yeah.
You can do streaming, sports, that type of
all that
deal.
Good stuff.
We'll get all of it. And I'm pretty sure that's why they did, because the AMD thing is nothing new. Their past
they've
consoles
had that
have all
deal
been
for
using
years.
AMD.
Yeah, since the Xbox One, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because Xbox 360 was that using AMD? I'm not.
I think that was something. I think that was it ARM? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think it was AMD.
but AMD
I
definitely from the Xbox, because PlayStation 4 has also used AMD.
Yes.
Yeah. So no, AMD, I mean, they're doing a thing. And Carlos, because even though I'm supposed to know this stuff, I'm not too familiar with AMD. So Ryzen is the CPU and Radeon is the GPU, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just make sure I got that straight. I don't review a lot of things with AMD in it, believe it or not. On the few occasions where I get like a laptop with like AMD, like, there's an AMD chip in this shit. Like, wait, what? Or even like a desktop piece. I'm like, AMD? Oh shit!
I mean,
very rare.
The most AMD exposure you get to is consoles.
Well, and handhelds, obviously, Yeah. But no, the computers I review are generally, NVIDIA, graphics cards or Intel CPUs. But anyway, yes, yeah. Go ahead.
One other thing.
Yeah.
The whole thing with the partnership, it's just them saying we're gonna get. It's sort of like how AMD works with laptop manufacturers to get their equivalent Radeon and Ryzen chips on the laptops. That's pretty much what they're trying to do with Xbox. That's that type of partnership.
Yeah, makes sense. So we'll see. So if things go generally how we think they might, I'm guessing 2027, based on previous reports, we may see this thing. It'll be interesting. And again, if you could run multiple storefronts, like Brian said, that means you could have PlayStation games on this thing via Steam, at least for now,
On my Xbox?
And I was talking to my boy Jeffrey about this. We went to a barcade, chilling today. Happy Juneteenth to those who celebrate. So it was like, he was like, yo, it's interesting how, you're gonna eventually have PlayStation games on Xbox via the whole PC thing, and you currently have Xbox games on PlayStation. So it's all merging together, baby. Very interesting, And then of course Nintendo's off doing its own thing because Nintendo, All right. Anything else you guys want to say before we move on? All right, we're good because that's a segue because it's all about motherfucking Nintendo. So apparently some I don't know if they're sales figures, but apparently third-party games are not selling very well on the Switch 2, at least according to some reports, but then other reports are saying they're selling better than they were on the Switch 1. So let's see if we could
That's not saying much though.
So let's try to piece this together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to read this. This is from the Nintendo Life, a new report from Chris Dring, the game business, highlights a few sales stats for launch games on the recently released Switch 2. According to the article, most third-party Switch 2 games posted very low numbers at launch, with the vast majority of players understandably gravitating towards Mario Kart World. As per data from Nielsen IQ, 86% of physical Switch 2 games were first party, including the Mario Kart World bundle. If we exclude the bundle, the result would be 48%. But hold on. First party, 3 games? I would really, I'm not even joking. You have Mario Kart World and the 2 Zelda, remasters. What are the other first?
Demo 1.
The tech demo. The fucking tech demo. So that's interesting. Anyway, meanwhile, for the US, okay, so I think, so maybe the first one is for worldwide, because Circana is just the United States. Anyway, meanwhile, for the US, Circana states that 68% of sales were for first party, basically Mario Kart, excluding the bundle. By comparison, launch sales for the Switch 1 were 89% first party in the UK and 81% in the US. So yes, while these numbers have dropped, it's important to note that there are far more physical Switch 2 launch games than there were Switch 1 launch games. Interesting. Shout out to, hey Chris, we're talking about the Switch 2 third-party game sales. How one report saying hey, third-party games are not selling that great. Another one saying they're selling better than they were on Switch 1. Anyway, let me read this part now. Chris, you could jump in because I know you've been keeping up with the stuff. The best-selling third-party game was, as most would probably expect, Cyberpunk 2077. Meanwhile, Sega is the third biggest third-party publisher for the Switch, with launch titles including Sonic X, Yakuza, and Puyo Puyo. However, one unnamed publisher described initial sales as below our lowest estimates, despite remarkably strong hardware sales. Damn, I wonder if it was Capcom that said that shit. You know?
Or Square Enix.
Or, yeah, they do have some games. It might be Square Enix. This is Square Enix. You know how they are, bro. The motherfuckers sell 10 million. Nah, it's disappointed, man. What the fuck?
Our expectations.
Yeah. So, Chris, what's your take on this, man? Like, what is the actual story here? Because, again, we're kind of getting two conflicting reports.
Well, yeah, because if you use two different sets of numbers, they tell different stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if, let's say, for example, Manny made like some kind of Metal Gear statue, right? And I have a store, and he comes to me, he's like, "Hey, I want to sell these at your store, but you'll have to pay me market for them, right?" And I go, "Oh, well, your stuff's always great, so I'm gonna buy 1,000 off you, right? And I'm gonna go flip them." Okay, so he gets whatever he charges. Let's say he charges $100 per item, right? So he's looking at $100,000. So he immediately can report, I made $100,000 day one of sales because I put that money down. Then I put it in my store. Now, in my store, if I can't flip maybe 10% of those, then I have a loss, right? But I eat that loss, right?
Yeah.
So if I was Target, or it was Walmart, or it was Best Buy, whoever, GameStop, right? I eat that because Nintendo gets the market sales money up front. So their net sales comes from the point of purchase, purchasing units, and those purchases are based on, conversations with Nintendo. They give statistics how the Switch was doing. People at Target, Walmart, whatever, go, "Oh, well, the Switch sold so well, so we'll order this many units and we'll distribute them here, and they figure all that stuff out. But they have to pay Nintendo for those units, right? So that 3.5 million you're seeing is not people. It's not you going to the store and purchasing the Switch 2. It's Target purchasing bulk units of the system, right, that they then sell, at retail. And if they can't sell them, that's when you start seeing discounts and whatever, because they have to mitigate the loss. So if you look at one side of it, if you look at Nintendo's side, like, okay, 3.5 million. But if you look at maybe software units ordered too, people generally, the companies will generally order more software. Why? Because the Switch was successful. Turn that around and look at the Wii U going into the Switch. The Wii U was a disaster, right? So everybody's going to be hesitant, especially third-party people. They're not going to put that many units or that much effort into the system until they see it prove itself. Which is why you could say, "Oh, well, Switch 1 only had 20% sell-through for third-party software." Yeah, because they were hesitant. They're not going to put out a ton of units. Stores are not going to take a ton of units because they already ate the loss on the Wii U. So they had an unproven system, a brand new thing coming out, and they didn't know. So what? You just let Nintendo prove it out. Okay, put your own titles out there. Let's see how it does. Now it does gangbusters, then everybody gets on board. So you had solid 7-8 years of sales. So what does everybody expect the next system to do as well? But Nintendo said it will do even better.
Yeah.
And so you believe them. So you order more units to sell through. Yeah, you order more games.
So, I mean, you can actually see how little the investment is with a lot of these titles. You see all these these third-party titles. They're all games that have already came out. You get your Cyberpunk, you get your Street Fighter, you get all the. What is Doom: The Dark Ages the only new game that's on there, or is it even on there?
Doom: Dark Ages is not on Switch.
Yeah, it's not on there.
So there's no new games on that.
No, they're all old.
They're old. That's why they're not doing well, because everybody who's ever going to play them has already played them. And what little smidget of total Nintendo nuts who just play Nintendo things, maybe some of those people bought those things.
Yeah, and look at, and it's anecdotal, sure, but look at all of our timelines with the Nintendo stands who are taking pictures like, I bought the $500 system and I bought all these games. They were buying Breath of the Wild over again, right? These are people who are buying Zelda twice, right? Now they have 2 copies. They had the Switch 2 version. There's guys all with, oh, look, I bought all this. It was all Nintendo shit. They didn't buy anything else. They didn't buy Cyberpunk. They're not going to buy Sonic Racing, right? They got Mario Kart. So this is the problem. So from the store to your home, that's where the sales are failing. That's why the with the software they're hurting more, right, than Nintendo. Nintendo can brag, okay, 3.5 million units, but this is going to hurt you in the long run, because now if software underperforms, guess what? You're either A, not going to get ports anymore until that picks up, and B, you're going to have guys hesitant to even put out multiple units in order to cut expectations because they're selling so low. So that's going to cause a big problem. Plus, when you have that, and you're only relying on your base, right, to sell through systems and software, you don't have a lot of software. What is besides Donkey Kong this year? What is the Switch 2 exclusive for 2025 going forward? We don't know. I don't know what it is. It's nothing.
Wait,
so
isn't it Switch 2 exclusive for 2025?
What besides Donkey Kong?
Metroid, but that's on Switch 1 as well.
Yeah, that's not exclusive. Yeah, that's what I
Chris
mean.
was ready for that. He added that caveat. He's like, you ain't got you, me, motherfucker.
Well, I'm not trying to get you. I'm trying to understand here, because it seems to me like there's only 2.
There's only 2.
Oh, excuse me, Chris. 3. Welcome tour.
Oh, the tech demo.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just have
The greatest
3.
game.
Unless they do some other thing. Yeah, that's crazy. By the way, Chris, Logic Wins has a question for you, sir. Sure. He goes, are we getting an OLED Switch 2 sooner rather than later this time around? I think the pandemic was the main reason we got the OLED Switch later than Nintendo initially planned.
I don't think you'll get it sooner because they just put the system out, and they're going to manufacture an X number of units. If they're expecting 15 million units to sell through in a fiscal year, that means they're going to produce at least that many of this current model, right? This hardware fab and whatever LED tech they're using. The OLEDs will come way later, maybe 3 years in, if they remodel the system. They don't have an incentive to, because that alone is not going to sell more Switch 2s, right? Having an OLED screen. What sells this? We always say this, like all of us say this. Randy says it all the time. It's the software.
Yeah.
And that's all they care about. Like these guys, the Nintendo stands, they'll buy another goddamn Animal Crossing if you put in a Switch 2 exclusive. They'll buy all that shit, right? So the problem is Nintendo overpromised. I think I mentioned this before. They overpromised on this one. They're gonna. I'm not gonna put money on it, but I won't miss Cleo it like Carlos, because I can't be sure, but I think they're gonna cut by holiday. They're gonna cut their expectation of sell through to about 12 or 11 million. They're gonna cut numbers off of that because the sales are gonna slow down. There's not software to push it, and if third parties are underperforming and they don't have anything exclusive coming out, I don't know. Donkey Kong may sell very well, but it could also sell mediocre. I don't know. And it's just not enough, because not everybody is a fan of Donkey Kong or platformers. They want other things, or they want a Mario game, or they want, Professor Layton. I don't know. There's just not enough variety there coming from Nintendo fast enough to push that many systems in the fiscal year. I don't believe. And also, there's not the system to play third parties. You have Steam, you have PS5, you have Xbox, you have PC. You could play any of those games anywhere, and you could have played them 3 years ago.
And for cheaper.
For cheaper, yeah.
And they run better.
Yeah.
Well, except for the PS4 version of Cyberpunk.
Yeah, right. Logic One says, thanks for answering that. Always, you already know. Oh yeah, 15 million. Yeah, man, we'll see about that.
Going back to the third party sales thing, it's also not surprising because the Switch 2 is backwards compatible with the Switch games.
Yeah.
So most people who bought a Switch probably had a bunch of games already there. So there wasn't like the Switch when the Switch came out, it wasn't Wii U backwards compatible.
Yeah, they didn't have to build a library; they already have one.
Yeah, so it's not surprising. And like you guys mentioned, those games are all. I mean, Yakuza 0 is a good game, but that's 2017. That's
Yeah, that's not gonna push units, man. That's not gonna. No. Again, impressive that these games are running on a Nintendo console, but again, they're like 50 years old. All right. I don't know if you guys want to quickly talk about the whole MIG card controversy that's happening with the Switch. Chris, you got any thoughts on that? Like how accounts are being locked if you use this like kind of emulator card or whatever.
I think that's a poor move on their part. This kind of we manage your system. People purchase the system, right? It's theirs. This is the agreement we're supposed to understand. But the fact that companies can put out EULAs with whatever they want, oh, we can manage your system, we can spy on you and all this shit. And then they look at you, use a MIG card. All right, you bought the system, you spent your money. If you want to open it and gut it and figure out how it works, that should be your right. They shouldn't be able to brick it. So I think that's egregious. But on top of that, they watch what you do. So if they see this thing, I don't know how they're detecting it, but they are. And then they go, oh, well, that's an unauthorized use of our hardware. No, it's not your hardware anymore when you sold it, right? You sold it to someone, right? Now they can't, there's certain things they can't do. They can't go make a copy of it. They can't reverse engineer it. There's already things in place for that. It's not up to you based on corporate law to go, we get to manage how you use your hardware. I think that's super egregious. And there's a line that I think they have crossed with this. This is not like modding your system so you're always winning at Call of Duty or you're a bullet sponge in GTA. This is not that. This is not like ruining an online experience or whatever, hacking the system. This is not that. This is just people going, hey, I want to try this MIG Flash, and MIG Flash allows you to play Switch 1 games natively. So even if you do that and you own the game, which is the argument some people are making, you can't tell. They can't tell what you're doing on there. They just know you're using it, so they just brick the system. And I think that's a horrible strategy. I think all you're going to do is encourage and challenge the community to find a way around that. And they will eventually. They're gonna brick enough systems to where somebody's gonna figure out how to put on EPROMs and whatever on there to prevent all that voltage hacks and whatnot, and just run whatever they want. So you're just spurring the community to do that. And then what are you gonna do? Send lawyers after everyone? It's ridiculous. Like this is I think corporate suicide in terms of in terms of like anti-consumer behavior, because all you'll do.
I hate to jump in here, but from what I read, it wasn't that they were bricking them; that they were permanently banning them from online.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up too. I wanted because I'm like, wait, because again, I'm hearing the bricking stuff, but I'm like, I think they're just disabling your account or deleting your account. I don't think.
Oh, they disable your account?
Yeah, well, they're not like you're still able to play your games. It's just your Nintendo account is gone.
Kind of like Xbox, what used to do.
Well, but that's also part of my argument. It's like, are they using the MIG Flash to cheat in some way online? Now with Xbox, you'll get a report, right? Oh, okay, you have a modded system and they're doing something in an online game, in Gears, right? It's cheats or whatever. Somebody reports you. Microsoft can reach out, check your system if it's modded, and if it's modded, they ban your account, right? But that's reasonable because you're breaking the terms of service of using the online. Using the MIG Flash by itself is not breaking any terms of service, unless the terms of service is you're not allowed to use hardware we say you can't use with your system, which is insane, because maybe they're not playing online, right? If I take a native old game on Switch 1 and I use the MIG Flash to just put it in the Switch 2, and it's not online, then why would you ban my account? Right? I haven't done anything online to break that part of the TOS. But your TOS is overreach. It's going into you're not allowed to use certain hardware on our system that we don't approve of, and I think that's insane.
Yeah, well, this is Nintendo, so I'm not surprised. It'll be interesting to see what happens if there could be any potential lawsuits. You know, do you think that's a possibility, Chris? You know, that people could bring on Nintendo?
Yeah, they could, because I think somebody's going to have to examine the terms of service very, very carefully and see if there's overreach, because I think once and I don't know, I'd have to look at the precedent of anything that has come before that this was settled, like when because I think iFixit had a lawsuit and they won it, where it's like, hey, you're allowed to, once you purchase a system, you're allowed to open it and do what you want. I don't know if it was against Apple, it might have been Apple or something.
Sounds like
else.
Apple, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's already been set. So Nintendo can't just go back and go, well, no, according to Japanese law, we're not in Japan here, right? You can't do that. So I think there might be grounds for that, but I'll have to look into that further.
Yeah. All right, good stuff, man. Move on here. We got to talk about this WB situation. So Warner Brothers Games is restructuring development into. So this is interesting because we heard this before, how basically they were going to restructure to focus on some key franchises. The only difference is because before it was Mortal Kombat, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, and Batman. Now it's DC, not Batman, but it's still those same four franchises. So let me read this real quick from Variety, who first reported this. Hogwarts Legacy maker Warner Brothers Games has set a new leadership team for its development, production, and tech operations, and restructured into divisions based on its four key franchises, which are Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Mortal Kombat, and the DC Universe. Per WB, 3 current studio heads have been promoted to the role of senior vice president as part of the Warner Brothers Games restructure. Warner Brothers Games Montreal studio head. Another guy called Yves. La Chance, fucking French, has been promoted to senior vice president. NetherRealm's getting a new guy. He's a guy that's been with the company forever, but he's getting promoted. So maybe we'll get good Mortal Kombat again. But yeah, a bunch of these guys are getting promoted, a bunch of shifts around. And it says under the new WB Games development, production, and tech leadership structure, these guys will report to JB Perrette, Warner Brothers Discovery CEO of Global Streaming and Games. It's interesting. Streaming and games are one thing. All teams across development, production, and tech will report to that dude, and blah, 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 blah. All right, so yeah, I'm not surprised by this. Go ahead.
It's film, movies, and games, and streaming.
It's two things. We're going to talk about that,
Yeah.
We'll get to that because it's two things they've been. But right now, let's just focus on the gaming part of it. Again, as we talked about last year, WB Games has been doing very, very bad ever since the absolute failure of Suicide Squad. So they're like, okay, let's just focus on our core franchises. So I'm not surprised by any of this, like this whole restructuring. But it's interesting how, again, that report came out last year about the franchises that we're gonna be working on, but I guess now it's like really happening. But there's like a wider thing happening with Warner Brothers overall. Go ahead, Brett.
Isn't the Suicide Squad one of their core franchises?
Not anymore.
Oh, it's part of DC.
Yeah, it just said DC, but like the actual franchise, Suicide Squad is not one of the pillars. Because that game ended up costing a lot of money.
I know. I like we're going to focus on we're going to steer away from games that have failed us and focus on our four pillar franchises. But we're also going to expand one of those to include the failure that we just had.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. But yeah, because that game ended up costing them so much fucking money. Like they lost a lot, and basically they expected Suicide Squad to pretty much bankroll the whole division for the year. That didn't end up happening for obvious reasons, So pretty wild stuff there. And then it's still kind of related, but yeah, there's like a larger restructuring happening at Warner Brothers in general. Man, I know you wanted to say something on that.
So what's happening is they're pretty much it's pretty much becoming Warner Brothers Discovery again. Because all of Discovery End stuff like CNN and all the actual like TV stations have all been moved onto one side, and then all the entertainment shit like, the movies, games, and streaming, all that stuff has all been moved onto the other side. So there's it's Warner Brothers. They both have unimaginative names for some stupid reason. It's like Warner Brothers Streaming Games and Media or some bullshit, whatever that is. But yeah, it's pretty much they're being split into two companies. And the other part of it is, and you remember how much debt that Warner Brothers was occurring?
Yeah.
You want to know why they were incurring the debt? It's not because of the films or the failures in the games. It's actually because of old media like cable channels.
Oh, I'm not surprised by that. Those things don't make any money. Yeah.
They don't make any money, so they literally threw it all into one pile, right? All the cable channels, pretty much all the cable channels into one section, and then they settled them with the fucking debt.
Damn.
So yeah.
Yeah, so that's what's yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what's going on right now.
Yeah, and then so this is just a rumor right now. So keep that in mind. Everything we talked about is actually happening, but the next part I'm going to talk about is a rumor. Rumor is that Sony is looking to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery Streaming and Studios, which is the gaming and streaming division. That would be interesting. Sony effectively owning Mortal Kombat,
They were saying, at least a lot of people were saying, is that one of the reasons why they've done this sort of cut like this is to make the company more the company's more what do they call
appealing?
More attractive. Yeah, more appealing to be bought by somebody.
Yeah, because Sony may be like, I don't want to buy that CNN division, but them like, oh wait, the gaming division.
Yeah,
we could talk.
I don't want that. Yeah, we don't need a Discovery Channel or the Learning Channel, but
yeah, no, I think that there's something to that, So that part with the Sony thing is still up in the air, but I wouldn't be surprised, So we'll have to see. What else did Warner Brothers make besides those like franchises?
Well, I mean, they have all of the Midway catalog. So that would mean that they would get it. They'd be, obviously they'd be getting Mortal Kombat, the Hogwarts and Harry Potter franchises, literally, a bunch of film franchises too. They'd also be getting.
That's right.
They want that media division. So you would be getting you'd be getting the Batman films. Obviously, you get
Harry Potter's in that Warner Brothers.
Yes, Harry Potter's their Game of Thrones is through them as well. There's just a bunch of different franchises that Warner Brothers has.
Oh man! So by the way, real quick, here's some of the franchises that failed. This is why this is all happening. Suicide Squad, like we mentioned, Gotham Knights. Remember that bullshit? And of course, and of course, multiverses. So they basically have 3 failures back to back. And they're just bleeding.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it's all.
Oh, and Monolith Studios got shut down. As we reported on as well.
Yeah, the thing about it is, it's like they're all they put again like what PlayStation did. They put all their fishes in the barrel of surfaces, right? All those failures, with the exception of Hogwarts Legacy, right?
Yeah.
All service games.
Yeah, no, you're right about. Hey, Logic Wins. That's a good point. If Sony does buy this gaming division, guess who owns the Nemesis system? That would be
Sony.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Hey, at least somebody would fucking use it. Go ahead, Brett.
That's cool. I'm noticing an interesting shuffle here. So, like, AT&T acquired Warner Brothers in 22, and then
they sold it to Discovery.
Well, yeah, and then they split it off and they merged it with Discovery, and then they moved all of the debt to the cable side. And that's interesting because it reminds me a lot of something that Capcom
capital venture people do, where they'll like
Venture capitalists.
finance the, like, let's say, there we go, thank you, Jesus Christ. Where they'll like buy a company for 100 million, right? But they'll go to the bank,
Mhm.
put down 20 million, and then take on 80 million worth of debt. And then as soon as they acquire that company will buy them out of the $80 million worth of debt. And so then that company is then just sitting there with, negative $80 million in cash flow. And a lot of times they get shuttered. That's, when we talk about, venture capitalists buying things and splitting or stripping them for parts. So it seems really interesting that they're kind of shuffling all of these things, and then they're shuffling all of the debt onto the arm that has been broken off to its own company and is withering away and dying anyway. It's like shuffling all the poison into a limb you're planning to cut off.
And just
that's
file for
it.
bankruptcy there.
Yep, that's it. Because they can't officially, they won't be able. They probably won't be able to settle any of that debt, especially with the way the Discovery and a lot of those networks are doing these days. They're not the thing anymore.
Which is ironic because they own the Lannisters.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So, anybody have any more thoughts on this?
I mean, it'd be very interesting to see Sony in general get a hold of that stuff, but at the same time, it also means that it's just more nostalgia garbage. You know what I mean?
Well, no, also the consolidation just lowers the number of studios. Like, I mean, people complain about this. When Disney bought 20th Century Fox, it's like, what the hell are you doing? Now they have like a zillion IPs. They barely know what to do with the ones they have. And so if you have Sony absorb Warner Brothers, now they have all those IPs. They have all those licenses, all that stuff. But it's like, I don't. At what point does antitrust kick in?
Exactly. But especially with all these companies just gobbling up each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, we've talked about this before, where it's like we're heading into a future where there's just going to be like 5 gaming companies. It's crazy.
Megacorps.
Pretty much.
We're moving.
And they got rid of Homegirl, so that's definitely going to happen now.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Maybe they'll hire her for a WB game. It's crazy. All right. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Very interesting stuff. All right, we got to talk about Rich's favorite game. Rich is not here. We got to talk about Marathon. It's been delayed.
Well, as we knew it would.
Delayed indefinitely, by the way.
So, are they trying to save face by not canceling it? Delayed indefinitely.
Just cancel it. Cancel this bullshit.
This shit. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I love this headline from Eurogamer. Bungie's Marathon reboot delayed indefinitely in response to passionate fan feedback.
Hell, please.
Yeah, I think they mean like, stop it, shut it down. Like, this is stupid. You
got called out on your bullshit. That's passionate fan feedback.
Passionate.
It's not like, you're stealing art, and what we see doesn't look that great.
Yeah,
I didn't know you guys were passionate about this.
I know you cared. Just give us $80.
Yeah,
just give us money for existing.
It's crazy, man. So, and they did the usual Twitter thing where it's like a picture of a fucking wall of text, because they all love doing that.
They did the cyberpunk.
The old Twitter apology.
Yep, pretty much.
Well, mate, this also. I mean, here's the thing. It's like indefinitely. This means there's a good chance that, like, if it has to do with that, the plagiarism thing, right? Does that mean that the amount of shit that they use in that game is a lot deeper than
that's what I think
they even thought it was?
Because they in their blog post they actually detail what changes they're gonna make. And one of them is they're gonna rehaul they said they're gonna rehaul the art style to be more in line with the original game, which means to tell me they probably ripped off a lot of shit and they gotta go back to scratch.
Oh man, so shit. So that means that if they're going back to the original games, that means that everything was stolen.
Yeah, probably.
Wow.
Damn.
What the fuck?
Are we sure this is just because they don't? I mean, maybe the aesthetic of David Bowie robots isn't flying so well.
I mean, it could be that, but no, it's really because they stole shit and people are just, mad.
People are pretty mad about that because you steal from another artist and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, yeah, we're just I don't know about that.
I 100% agree with that, but like also I have not seen the internet in such a united front make fun of something since Ugly Sonic, right? Like that is,
yeah, but
it was an insane amount of people being like, "What is this? What nobody likes this? Why are you doing this to us?"
Mm-hmm.
No,
and then
you're right.
In line with the old games. I mean, to be honest, like that's the problem with this thing. Like it's marathon in name only.
Yeah. So I want to read some of the changes they're going to implement.
Right.
And it's in 3 sections here. Upping the survival game, more challenging and engaging AI encounters, more rewarding runs with new types of loot and dynamic events, making combat more tense and strategic. The next one is doubling down on the marathon universe, increased visual fidelity, more narrative and environmental storytelling to discover and interact with, a darker tone that delivers on the themes of the original trilogy, and lastly, adding more social experiences. So that includes a better player experience for solos and duos, and proximity chat so social stories can come to life. Right. So there you go. Basically, a lot of the gameplay stuff is what people complained about during that beta. It's like, what the fuck is this shit?
So they're changing all the gameplay and all the visuals.
Yes.
So
it's a new game. So yeah, this is a new game. That's it.
Yep, they're starting from scratch basically. They probably have to because they probably stole everything, What a mess. Again, just cancel it. Just stop, Stop it right now.
To be honest, like it sucks because like especially for those marathon fans that were pretty much chomping at the bit for a new fucking game. Granted, it's an old ass game. It's like, what is this? It's not even the original game was all about narrative and all that other stuff, and it's like this is like the total opposite direction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I think you guys kind of have a point with like it has to be. I think Tony, you're onto something. Like, if it was bad, they just push it out and call it a day.
Yeah.
They just throw it out there, get the buys they can. They'd Redfall the whole thing, right? Like they'd Redfall, shutter a studio, save some money, appease some stock holders, and move on with their fucking day, right? Like you don't tank that much asset development. Like holy shit, the amount of money that they must have lost on that.
Yeah, it's fucking insane. Logic Win says, other than Nixie's and Housemark, every Sony acquisition this generation has been ass.
Yeah,
funny,
I
man.
mean,
yeah.
And then again, and they got Bloober Team. Was it? They got Bloober Team too.
Was that Sony?
No, not Bloober. Yeah. What was it? Blue Point. They got
Blue Point. Yeah, Blue Point, not Bloober Team.
Yeah, they got Blue Point.
Blue Point.
Sorry,
Blue
they got
good. Blue Point's good.
They got Blue Point, but they had them doing a God of War online game that they canceled.
Oh my God.
Like, what is
so dumb.
going on here?
It's so
retarded. Yeah.
It's
in fairness, Microsoft acquisitions ain't doing much better.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Also, did you?
Oh, go ahead.
Did you see? I saw this in the chat. Someone posted something from my best friend Colin Moriarty. He's talking about how actually Sony needs to make games as a service games because it's the only way that the revenue would trend up. Found it interesting because
I like that.
Like obviously we're diametrically opposed to having those games because we don't like them, but Sony apparently first
it's not so much that I like online service games. Like I might be the only one here who does, but like, and I'll say that it's not so much. Or as somebody that probably plays that shit the most, like, bro, I just realized today, like, DayZ, the game DayZ that I've been talking about for like fucking ever, has just sat at the top of the Steam charts for like in the top 100 most played for like years now. Like shit is like just banging. Like the player base on that shit crested 40K every day. Like Jesus Christ, I can't fucking believe it.
But even as somebody who likes those types of games, that can't be your entire portfolio, right? Like you cannot just go blindly chasing out around dollars without any artistic integrity. It never ends well. Never has, never will.
Yeah.
So
By the way, since Carlos, you skipped like 2 topics to the future, we may as well get to it now.
I did not know that. My bad. I didn't know that was the topic.
Yeah, but it's a good segue. It's like Sony and Marathon. Anyway, I'm reading this from Push Square.
Segue broke the time space continuum.
Yeah, fans can't believe PS5 has made more profit than all previous PlayStations combined. So let's get into it. I'm going to read all this because they do explain all this. A slide from a recent PlayStation investors presentation has gone viral as it effectively confirms that the PS5 has made more profit than all of Sony's previous consoles combined. The manufacturer pegs PS5's operating income at $13 billion so far, while the PS1 era netted $3 billion. The PS2 era made $2 billion. The PS3 lost $4 billion, and the PS4 rebounded with $9 billion. Add the numbers up, and you get $10 billion for PS1 through PS4. There's some context we'd want to add. The company's categorizing generations by chunks of time, so some of the revenue earned through the PS5 generation will have been generated by continued use of the PS4. I'm glad they mentioned that. We know, of course, that there is a significant number of players still on the last-gen console. The chart is also not adjusted for inflation, which is obviously also working in PS5's favor, especially when it comes to the amount of revenue generated. And to be honest, it's hard to compare the console business today to what it once was. The increase of digital sales means Sony is making more money off software than it ever has, while services like PS Plus are fueling substantial revenue. But the big difference with the PS5 generation has been the monumental growth in live service games and microtransactions. Sony scrapes 30% off every purchase made through the PS Store, which means it's making unfathomable sums of money off evergreen titles like Fortnite, Call of Duty, and Genshin Impact. In fact, later in the presentation, it confirms that over 50% of all PS Store revenue is being generated by sales within a handful of titles. Those are EA Sports FC 25, FIFA, NBA 2K25, and GTA 5. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. So yeah, that's basically just adding context to what you guys were talking about.
Motherfucker, if they are making 30% off the top of every evergreen title, do they really need to make their own evergreen title? Just keep biting off the 5. Like, you don't need to make 100% of the money. You can make 30% of everybody else's money and do just fine. Also, I looked it up. Sony has 124 million active users, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to do the math on that. Does somebody want to divide that by their basic plan that just gives internet access? Like, how much of their profit each year is simply from just charging people access to multiplayer? Like, just the bottom tier function. I don't even know what that fucking is anymore.
Yeah.
70 per year, PS Plus basic.
I don't even know. By the way,
it's like
I'm gonna do the math on this because I'm mad about it.
I want to read this because Brett, it goes on to what you just said.
It says 8.7 billion. Per year.
I just want to read this because, again, Brett pretty much said this. This is, of course, why the company has been so eager to have a live service success story of its own. The company is seeing its bottom line increasingly dominated by microtransactions, and they want 100% of the revenue.
All the money.
Yeah. Give me all the cash.
Gotta have something.
And the article kind of goes on to say, go ahead, Brian.
No, I was about to say, gotta have everything.
Everything.
You gotta have everything, yeah.
Yeah, and the article goes on to say it's like the numbers kind of contrast with what you see on Twitter. People are kind of upset with the PS5 and all that because it hasn't really felt like a proper generation, but they're making their money.
Because it's squeezing the money out of people. Like we just said, like $8 billion a year, right? How much do you say their profit was this year?
How much? I don't know. Okay, this is not about the whole year, but it says that no. It says the PS5's operating income is at $13 billion so far.
Okay, so more than 50% of that is just providing their massive user base with online access, right? And then a huge other portion of that is taking 30% of what everybody else does.
Yeah. By the way, to
So,
be
like,
fair,
how-
other storefronts also charge 30%. Just to be fair.
No, I know.
Yeah,
Bro,
yeah,
bro. As somebody
yeah.
who's just been on PC strictly for I migrated strictly to PC when I haven't been able to work this year, right?
Yeah.
So like I migrated away from that shit. I'm not paying $15 to $12 to $15 a goddamn month just to play online games and shit. No, fuck that. Fuck that noise. I don't have Game Pass money right now. Fuck that noise. I have Steam sale money.
Yeah.
And like I'm just kind of on Steam right now, and like I swear to God, man, like once you start spending a majority of, and everybody here who's been on PC will tell you the same thing. As soon as you start spending majority of your time on PC, you look back and you're like, man, paying like fucking subscription, like Netflix subscription ass money every month just to play online seems kind of bullshit. So
Yeah.
like, I guess what that makes me really angry about this, right, is if you're considering that like 60% of their profit, their operating profit is made just from gatekeeping online access, and then 30%ing other people's, that's like probably what, another 20-30%, right? Like that leaves what, like 10% of their operating profits come from making and publishing their own games. Like what incentive do they have to do better? I mean, like I guess you could just look at the profit margins and come to that conclusion right away. But like, I don't see a way when you look at it like that. Like, I don't see a way out. Like, what other than like, keeping potential investors attracted by, not blatantly saying there's not going to be another God of War. Like, why not just keep making God of War and Spider-Man and The Last of Us, and why do any better? Why do anything else?
Yeah.
Well, to be fair to Sony, they're really not doing anything else.
Yeah, they're not. They're already doing what you just said, Brett. They're already just not doing anything. Again, that the article was talking about, it's like they're making all this money, but they're not giving PlayStation fans what they want, So that's how it is, man.
And still Microsoft can't nail them down. That's sad. That's not great, man. That's not great.
Yeah, which is funny because one of the few like original games that from first party Sony that we would be interested in, half the people or most of the people in this panel hate the studio.
It's funny, man. Logic Win says this explains why Sony would want that WB acquisition. HBO Max can give them that recurring revenue. Yes, another source they could have for sure. But yeah, I'm actually very surprised by that. I was like, damn. I'm surprised, but I'm also not. I'm like, it's like, because it's shocking. You're like, wait, the PS5 it's made the most money, but when you think about the microtransactions and all this other shit, it actually does make sense.
An exponential growth of user base. Like that's why I don't get the whole like every time somebody goes into like, well, games used to cost up to $80 and they should be making inflation money and blah 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 blah. Like it's the profits of every sector of the video game market have climbed year by year steadily since the NES, right? Like it's not like there have ever been like, other than like the major crash, the Nintendo crash, right? Like it's not like there have been times where like video game companies are finding it hard to make ends meet. They just have these huge overbloated budgets, which are starting to be proven by games like Schedule 1 and Expedition 33 and shit like that, right? Like it's just kind of being showcased, and I don't know. You know what? I'm just rambling. Forget me. I have too much medication in me.
Yeah, no, but see, Brett, but you're still sounding better all the time, angrier all the time. This is good. We're getting the old Brett back.
Yeah, I've got like half a soapbox here. I'm working on finishing it.
There you go. All right, good stuff. Anybody else have any thoughts on this before we move on?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. This is what I said on Sunday, that Sony makes most of the money on microtransactions, hence why they want their own live service games so that they can get all that money. And it's frustrating. And again, the only thing that makes sense, and this probably makes everyone here sad, and probably Brett sad, is that they must make more profit each year, so they must do something, and this is them doing something. So I understand why they're making live service games. I just don't like it. That's all. And I think the only thing that will make them stop Yeah.
That's the thing that baffles me, right? Like that's the thing I can't not fucking understand because Sony cannot seem to make a game for under $200 goddamn million, right? Like you're taking
True.
30% of whatever is in first place and whatever's in second place and whatever's in third place and fourth place and fifth place, right? Like you know how many times you have to fuck that up once to pretty much lose out on how much that sets you ahead? At about 200 million, it's like one fucking game. You're like it's like trying to negotiate rent on a building that has been standing empty for 12 months, right? Like you're gonna really like try and negotiate $12 a month for a $2,000 a month fucking space and risk them walking on that and spending 7 more months just hemorrhaging money, right? Like they're spending all of this time hemorrhaging money trying to develop these things which are not fucking hitting when they could just sit back and just eat the lunch of whoever wins. Like that's the smart person's plan. But like that's a long game thing, and that's not the way that we do publicly traded companies. But like overall, even doing it this way doesn't monetarily make any sense to me whatsoever. It just seems like, hey, we're like it's if we keep placing high bets, we are bound to fucking lose. And then they're like, well, but we're also bound to catch up. Like that's it doesn't make any sense, right? Like you could just do what Steam does. Steam hasn't had fucking Valve hasn't had to make a game in like 20 years. You know why? Because they just eat everybody else's lunch. That's all they have to do. That's all you have to do. And you're out here hemorrhaging money trying to make your own thing so you can have 100% of it, right? Like you're getting 30% of it. Like it's unless you like. There's some math there that I'm on too much fucking goddamn pain medication to work out. But it has to be like, your 3 tries, you've pretty much like undone yourself. And how many flops did live service flops has Sony had already? Like this has to be counterproductive monetarily and fiscally.
Yeah, would Concord be the biggest fucking flop? You know,
like how much had they just fucking eaten? And now that they're shutting Marathon down, like it's they should have just not developed it, and they would have made more money just.
But Brett,
like,
do you think like
it doesn't have to be Fortnite?
Yeah, but do you think they don't care since they're already making so much money anyway? It's just like fuck it, who gives a shit? It's like yeah, you're losing hundreds of millions, but you're making billions. So maybe they don't care because it's not affecting them.
Yes and no, because I think that when you're talking about making this amount of money, like the money that they will make over the span of say like 3 years, they can lose by misfiring on one game, right? Like they would have to replace Fortnite in order to kind of fault that over, right? Like it's and here's the thing, like Fortnite, they the biggest thing now, right? And Sony, you may make a game, like let's say Concord popped off, right? For how long? Right? And how long until then Marvel Rivals popped off? Like you don't know what's going to pop off, but you know you're getting 30% of that. Why even waste the money trying to develop something of your own instead of just taking 30% of whoever wins? Because you're laying a lot more on the line, right? Like if I'm making a $100 million game, right? Like if I'm okay, let's try to do the math on this, right? If Fortnite makes $100 million a year, I'm taking 30 of it, right? And so for me to make that $30 million in a year, I'm going to have to produce a $100 million profit game every 3 years, right? Which means I'm just going to have to be on top of that fucking treadmill. I'm going to have to keep being on top of things that are hot, managing my inflated costs, and producing games that are consistently bangers, right? But if you don't do that and you misfire and you have a Concord, oops, now you're negative $100 million from where you would have been before. And now you have to catch up twice as fast. And what's that? You had another misfire. Oops, there goes Marathon. Now you're another $100 million in the hole. So now you're $200 million underwater treading, and you're trying to be like, well, maybe the next live service game will make up for it. But that next service game is now going to have to exist, at the top of the charts for how fucking long before it makes that money back. Maybe I'm again stupid on too much medication here, but like I don't see how that makes more money over a 10-year turn than just sitting back and safely taking, the winner's lunch, eating the winner's lunch. I don't. And if I'm that dumb, please somebody explain it to me for the safety of myself and everybody around me.
This is math, so it's all the shit's going over my head, so I can't help you there. I'm not medicated, and you're probably doing a better job than I can with this shit. All I know is that whatever Sony's doing, it's fucking working for them, even if the fans aren't happy. It's crazy. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, and in your response, like, it's not that Sony doesn't know what it's doing. It's that there's a bunch of executives at Sony who don't care what's going on because they're getting their golden paycheck and their golden parachute.
They're making their money. They're making a lot of money.
Yeah. No, there's no threat to their young blood transfusion yacht lifestyle. So
yeah, no, but I'm saying like basically the people that are happy when it comes to gamers are the normies who are playing fucking FIFA and Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto. They don't give a fuck. There's no new God of War. They don't care. They're not playing that shit. So maybe that's why Sony isn't worried about guys like us. So like, okay, you guys ain't bringing us money. They're bringing us the money.
I mean, they care if they would produce a God of War that would make them money. They just think that God of War doesn't produce money because it doesn't bang like it used to.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
And you also got the contingency of ponies who are just happy to see the numbers go up.
That's it. They don't care, even though they're not playing anything, Carlos.
Well, no, they're playing the third remastered of Last of Us.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. It's crazy. All right, let's move on. Speaking about sales numbers, we got to celebrate Stellar Blade. It has now sold 3 million copies, 1 million of those being from PC. Like it just laying on PC. 1 million copies sold. But the reason I want to talk about this is because, Chris, you and I were talking about this. We got to make fun of some of these people, man, that were shitting on Stellar Blade. And they're big mad right now, Manny. That they're really mad that this game's doing so well. You saw those ridiculous headlines like, game sells 1 million because of Gooners. I'm not even making that shit up, Yeah. Meanwhile, and these are the same people, Manny. These are the same people. Not only the same people, the same persons. Like you have literally one guy, the same guy saying, "Oh, bear fucking is great in Baldur's Gate 3." Oh, look at Eve. This is disgusting. Manny, Manny, you've never played Stellar Blade, right? But I'm pretty sure you could tell me how many sex scenes does that game have?
It probably has 0.
0. No smut in that game.
Absolutely.
There's not even any flirting or romance. Nothing. But
No,
bear fucking and shit like that is fine.
Okay.
No, okay, Brett, I'll let you play devil's advocate, but like I just find it very funny how the same people that are deriding that love degeneracy are just mad because you get to see this woman's shapely ass,
I mean, you have a dick and a boob sliders in Baldur's Gate. Not to say Baldur's Gate's a bad game for any of that.
No, it's a great game. Yeah.
It's a great game, but there's way more sex. There's the characters are more goony over your main character than anything that happens with Eve and Stellar Blade.
Oh God, yeah. In Baldur's Gate, you're definitely a sex guy, and I just want to say, Well, I will not advocate bear sex. I will say that the opportunity to have bear sex, now that's a beautiful accomplishment. To put that in to give you that much choice, that's beautiful. The choice itself, not beautiful. But that much, to be given the choice, is the beautiful part.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but it's just like, it just seems hypocritical. Where you're like...
Oh, no, it absolutely is. Like, I love how, she's not. This is from somebody who's never seen a real woman. That was like it was the director's girlfriend or something.
His wife. Oh, by the way, the wife that helped design some of those characters. And then Brett. Yep. Oh, real women don't look like that. Oh, it was actually based off a real woman that looks like that.
Yep.
Yeah, so I've been enjoying just seeing these people cry over the success of this game. But again, it's like the thing I never understand is something I've been asking myself for fucking over a decade now. Do you really think these tactics are going to get you readers? Yeah, they may get you clicks and shit, but it's just people making fun of you. They're really writing this shit for their other fellow journalists that feel the same way. They're not writing for real fans. It's bullshit. But I've complained about that we've been complaining about that since the beginning of Throwdown.
Bro, I'm trying to think of a way to put this subtly. Let's just say that the people who write these hit pieces and the people who are Lizzo fans, if you made that into a Venn diagram, that shit would be a circle.
A perfect circle. I agree.
Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, the director of Celebrate came out there, was very happy. He said, yeah, we are working on a sequel. We're going to expand on the story, because he did feel that was the main thing they didn't have enough time to really build up. The story was serviceable. It was fine. Nothing wrong with it. But that's good. And I'm really glad. Apparently, hey, Brett, we're talking about fucking, games with $200 million budgets. This game, apparently it costs 40-50 million budget, and it looks great, So
I'm saying, dude, the tools are really kind of catching up, and there's a lot of smaller teams that are able to be doing really awesome stuff right now. So I'm just saying, you look at especially the people who left The Witcher and the people who left Ubisoft, right, and made Expedition 33. That was 32 people and a dog, right? That's fucking amazing, man.
Great.
So and I absolutely think every one of those 32 people should be being they all deserve to get the bag on that one, right? And I hope that there is profit share amongst that company, and that everybody there just got fucking rich. That's what I want to see. But I think the big problem is you have too many of these big fossil corporations that have too many goddamn middle managers on the works, whose main job is to just tell people like this to not make these games, right? If you think about the idiocy of there were people at Ubisoft who were paid to make sure that Claire Obscura 30 or Expedition 33 wasn't made. That was their job, was to shoot down these fucking ideas and keep this fucking talent in check. And then the talent left and made their own thing. And that motherfucker at Ubisoft is probably still there. Right? You don't need him. He's the one you don't need. Fucking cut his salary. He makes more than anybody on that creative team. Fucking fire that guy.
By the way,
and then
Brett,
keep doing that.
Yeah. No, I agree. By the way, Brett, you'll like this. The director of Stellar Blade, to celebrate this, he bought everybody in the company Switch 2.
Yeah.
Previously,
you don't see,
I don't know how we got the hookup.
Yeah.
Because I think there's it's a pretty sizable team.
So, well, I mean, how many people are over there? Maybe 100?
I think there's 300.
It's 300. Thank you. Yes, 300 people.
Okay.
So my man had access.
So they're bigger than Kojima Productions.
Yeah.
But let's also put the caveat: not all of their team is working on Stellar Blade. They do have a service game.
Yeah. But yeah, good on them, and I'm glad to see some of these stupid journalists crying. It's hilarious to me.
So it's funny how it's interesting how Kira Expedition 33 has become the poster child for small teams.
Yeah.
But this isn't anything. It's only because of the times. It's only because
of the times. Yes.
The way the game industry is. I mean, the guys who made Ninja Theory, who made Hellblade, the original game only had 20 people working on that game.
Yeah.
And the whole point of why they made that game is because they had been hitting the wall of the industry itself, where they want to make the games they want to make, but the industry says, no, we don't want to do that. So they said, okay, let's do it. Let's make a game that proves that we can make a game that has the AAA visual quality and is made with a smaller team and a smaller budget.
Yeah. I think the reason, because you're right about the whole Hellblade thing, but since Claire Obscura is way, way more popular, that's what's catching the headline. I wouldn't be surprised if Hellblade would catch those headlines back in the day if it made that much money,
I mean, it got some pretty serious. It got some pretty serious.
Not 3 million. Not 3 million copies sold.
I mean, not real 3 million copies sold, but it was one of those sorts of darling type of games, right? It was the demo for Unreal Engine at the time. So it's not like they weren't doing amazing things. I just think that just because we are in the time we're in, because the industry's in the state that it's in, you're not seeing companies that were doing these things way before these guys were. In fact, quite a bit of companies were essentially doing this, but these guys did it because one, they were successful, obviously, but they also did it with put into play what has been done before. It's like I even said this before. It's almost like we're going slightly backwards to the way games used to be made, where you didn't have a 300
3,000
person team.
3,000.
Or multiple branches, building games like Ubisoft, right?
Yeah, 2-hour credits.
Bro, I'm actually genuinely curious to see if there are more people that worked on the Oblivion remake and worked on the actual Oblivion, because Oblivion was made with like 75 people.
Yeah.
As I remember, it wasn't the implementation on this one. As I remember it, he just said it wasn't a huge a huge pull.
Oh, that's good.
From what I heard, because it's still running Oblivion under everything. They didn't need to go from scratch. So,
but that's good. But the reason I brought that up, man, is I wanted to agree with you, and I wanted to say I think the reason people act like that is because it's like they're just like, well, you can't do that anymore. Sure, you could do it 20 years ago, but you can't do it today. You can do it 15 years ago, but you can't do it today. You might have been able to get away with that 10 years ago, but you can't get away with it today. Oh, there was an outlier 5 years ago, but you could never do that today. Like, it's this idea that small, like, and honestly, if anything, the 5 years ago was probably the truest of them, right? Like, we definitely hit a point of bloat in the industry or anything that wasn't like a fucking Michael Bay level blockbuster wasn't worth looking at. And thankfully, I do think we pushed past that. But I think the reason a lot of people are so, awestruck about this mania is they just assume that in the year of 2025 that we can't make a game for less than $100 million. That that's just not possible.
Yeah, I think just add to Brett's point, we've also been having how many years now? At least a good 5-7 years of people saying that games just cost too much to make. So then when games that come out that don't cost that much to make and are actually good, people want to talk about them because they are, well, I can't say they are the exception to the rules because they keep happening. So it's not really an exception if the same thing keeps happening. So I think that's also a point because it's a counter to games cost too much to make when it's like, hey, these games don't cost that much to make and they did well. So what's the excuse?
Well, I mean, that's precisely the reason why the Toyama left the PlayStation, is because he still wanted to make smaller games where he had more control over them. And they're like, no, you have to make $100 million game.
Yeah. It's crazy. All right, man. Let's move on. By the way, shout out to Richard Bailey Jr., who snuck in under the dead of night. All right, so let's wrap up. We got 2 more stories, more fun stories, and on lighter notes. So it was just announced that Capcom will be having a Spotlight show on June 26th, and the 4 main games they're going to be focusing on. That is not to say these are going to be the only games, but the core ones will be Monster Hunter Wilds, Pragmata, Street Fighter 6, and Resident Evil Requiem. So that sounds like a lot of fun. I'm suspecting that with Monster Hunter and Street Fighter, it'll be showing off the new DLCs because Street Fighter 6 is going into Season 3. New character will be Sagat. They said the summer, and summer's right around the corner. Monster Hunter, the stream is happening 2 days, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, before the Lagai Chris gets announced. So we're probably going to see more Lagai Chris and whatever else is coming up. If you guys remember the previous stream, like they teased Lagai Chris at the end. So I'm wondering, what are they going to tease at the end of this one? So should be cool. Pragmata, they're going to show more. Hopefully we'll get some gameplay. And of course, Resident Evil. Fucking great. Chris, I know you're hyped for that Resident Evil.
Oh, I can't wait, man. Can't wait.
Yeah.
I got to count down till February 27th next year. Just give it to me.
Is it true that they're going to have a demo of this, or is that just fan casting or whatever?
I think that's wish casting. I don't know if there'll be a demo. Because they already announced it. The kitchen thing they did for 7 was brilliant, but that was to reintroduce the series, right? Now they already announced it. They don't need the demo. I mean, that'd be great if they did. I won't put it. I wouldn't say no. I'll take it.
Yeah. So this is what it says. Very short. The Capcom Spotlight is a digital event that brings you the latest news from Capcom. We will be presenting the latest news on highly anticipated upcoming Capcom titles, along with developer interviews. Please look forward to information regarding the newest update for Monster Hunter Wilds as well. Ooh, man, I'm looking forward to all 4 of these games, man. I forgot. I think I was talking to Mob Hits about this because he was like, hey, man, you think we're going to get Mega Man? I'm like, ooh, I would love me some Mega Man news because Mega Man 12 has been, we haven't had, we need that. But I don't think this is going to focus on it. I think it's just going to focus on these 4 games. So, yeah, look forward to that. What is that? Thursday. Ooh, perfect timing. So you already know we're going to be talking about that episode, so stay tuned. And the last story I have here, I threw this in for myself. I don't give a fuck. I threw this in for myself. Digital Eclipse, they're very well known for remaking old games. They did the Street Fighter collection. They will be doing the Mortal Kombat collection. The developer, one of the main key developers of the Mortal Kombat collection, he's kind of been doing the rounds lately, talking about what's in it. And he's a big fighting game guy, really good stuff. And one of the collections he wants to make the most is a Sega Saturn fighting collection, featuring, Virtua Fighter, Fighting Vipers, all that good jazz. So this is what he says. The other idea, because I'm a fighting game fan, would be to do a Sega Saturn-based fighting game collection. So all the fighting games from the Sega Saturn, the Virtua Fighters, Fighting Vipers, all that stuff in a collection. I think that would be really popular. I don't think it'll be really popular, but it will make me very happy. I want Fighters Mega Mix. Give me that shit. We haven't had, any of those games really done. So here's the thing. Here's what I'm wondering. Because he's talking about the Sega Saturn, right? So it's are we also going to get the arcade versions of these games? Because, I would want to play, the Sega Saturn versions of some, Virtua Fighter games, but I also want to play the arcade versions, because they look better. So that would be cool. But, if we get a Fighters Mega Mix, I'm fucking done, Because, Manny, was it on PS3, we had Fighting Vipers and Virtua Fighter 2, and that was it. We just had those random, releases and stuff.
It was a Virtua. It was the last one of the later Virtua Fighters. Well, it was Virtua Fighter 2.
It was 2,
Vipers. Yeah, and
and the Sonic fighting game, the fucking Sonic fighting. No, Fighters Mega Mix is locked to the Sega Saturn. It would be nice if they probably won't, but it would be nice if they kind of make the graphics a little better because Sega Saturn graphics are kind of rough. But I would be happy as fuck if this ever happened.
In general, it'll be running at a higher resolution, so it should look better. But other than the textures will probably stay the way they were, but at least they won't, you won't have those edge jaggies and everything. And those games, as I remember, most of those ran at 60 FPS.
They ran at 60 FPS. He also said that, he wants to do, Killer Instinct and Primal Rage. That's interesting. Collections for those. But, there were only 2 Primal Rage games, right? And it wasn't the second one did that even release?
Yeah, it wasn't really released.
Yeah,
it didn't even release. It got leaked later on, but it never got released.
And how many Killer Instinct games were old school?
But does that mean? And then the thing about it is that they in that last thing that they're doing Mortal Kombat, they're porting almost every single version of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
So does that mean that they're going to take every single version of Primal Rage and put it on there, even the 3DO one?
Why not? Let's go ham, So that'd be cool. Again, no word on when Mortal Kombat is coming. It's just coming this year. And remember, there's something unannounced coming. Mortal Kombat has to have secrets, but he did confirm that it is not Mortal Kombat 9. Because people are like, oh, it's going to be Mortal Kombat 9. He's like, no, this is the old games. He's like, we got to do this in a certain progression. He's like, if we were to do any other collections, it would have to be the 3D games after that. Mortal Kombat Deception, pretty much the era when I checked the fuck out. I remember playing one of those fucking games. It was like, what's with all these weapons and shit? This is weird.
Those games were ugly.
Yeah, they were ugly.
Ugly.
Speaking about ugly games, they do have Mortal Kombat 4 in this collection. That game, no, I didn't like it back then. I don't like it now, But I'm getting the 3. I'm getting the 3 I care about, The ones that Manny, you and I used to play the hell out of, Especially Mortal Kombat 3. It's funny because we both like Mortal Kombat 2 more, but I remember us playing 3 more because we kept going to the import store. They always had that cabinet of Mortal Kombat 3. But yeah, good stuff. Yeah, hopefully you do the Sega Saturn thing, but it'll be interesting because it's been very difficult to port Sega Saturn games because of the hardware and stuff. I wonder if they would just do a Panzer Dragoon and just fucking completely redo it. We'll have to see. But
we'll see.
Yeah. All right, man. So that's gonna do it for us. Let us plug some stuff. Manny, we can start with you first, if you have anything.
Let's see. I don't have it right next to me, but yes, out on the field right now is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 9 and 10. So we'll be completing the covers that from Kari and myself. Obviously, there's also Street Sharks coming out.
Brain fart.
Toward the end of the summer, end of the summer, early in September. So we have that, and then we have a bunch of other things as well coming along the lines. I have a cover that I did for the Power Rangers book that's out currently, so that should be coming eventually. So a lot of nostalgia, and there's still more to come.
Ooh, that's nice. Rich, what's going on, man? Hope you're doing well. What's coming up on the Coalition this weekend?
Yeah, sorry for the we had a lot going on tonight, but yes. So as for this weekend, we'll probably be working on a couple of things.
I think Rich cut out, or is it just me?
On a very important review,
Rich,
that I will be releasing.
Rich, you cut out for like 30 seconds, man, so you have to start over. He's having some issues.
Come on.
Can you hear? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, hopefully it won't cut off because you're sounding fine. It's just you just completely stopped talking.
Yeah, there's something going on with Xfinity. Okay, that's what it is. All right.
Yeah.
This weekend, I'm actually working on a very important review that I will be able to talk about next week. If you know what's coming out next week, you probably know what the review is. So
yes.
Stay tuned for that. Yes, stay tuned for that. As for on the website right now, I reviewed FBC Firebreak. That's Remedy's multiplayer game. And I also did a preview for Marvel Cosmic Invasion. Definitely check out that game because if you're a beat 'em up fan, that game is excellent. Yeah, those previews are up right now. But yeah, stay tuned. A lot more stuff coming to thecoalition.com.
By the way, FBC break is, if you have PS Plus, it's actually for free. So it's their little tactical shooter, not tactical shooter, like like mission based shooter game that they put together that takes place in the world of Control.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Go check that out. All right, man, we're done here. So make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube. Join the Discord. Also, real quick, I want to give another shout out to the Discord fam. You guys, all the stories that we have on here, all thanks to you guys. So thank you for keeping the show going. It makes it very easy for me. Just go in there, go to Monday, scroll all the way down till Thursday and pick the hottest stuff. So shout out to you guys, and obviously you can find us on your favorite podcast app. Links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Chris Seeley.
Take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Brett Murdoch.
Deuces.
Richard Bailey Jr.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
And Brian Manjoma.
Hello, people.
All right, guys, you already know. Sunday. Peace.